Hello again, and welcome to LTP, Learn to Paint with Mike. That is to say, I, Mike, am learning to paint, and you're along for the ride. Today, we're going to work on some more etching. I've got this whole unit of Striders, and they're the Strider Rangers. Picked them up for cheap in a trade. Traded off some models I didn't want and got some of these guys. Now, we did some sketching with our battle group with this dark umber, this burnt umber, because I wanted a warm tone on most of them. But these guys, I've decided that their cloaks here, they're going to have raven feathers and a green cloak to match the terrain that I've made. So I've decided to do kind of a desert terrain, and so this is quite a bit like a juniper tree. Let's see if you can see that. Juniper tree here. Let's see. There we go. So it looks like a juniper tree, right, growing out of the desert. Okay. So I've decided I'm gonna do kind of this green color, and maybe a little bit darker. Okay. But instead of having warm tones like I would use if I was going to try and camouflage compared to the sand and the stone there, which is my goal with my war beasts here, right? Okay. I've decided that these guys are going to be camouflaged more in a green fashion. So it's going to be a dark green highlighted to, well, a lighter green, but kind of a sage-ish juniper color. Okay? And since a lot of this, and they're a stealth unit, okay, they don't have, they're not flashy, and their special rules include stealth. So instead of a warm color, I'm gonna end up sketching these models with black. Okay, and this black is a darker toned black, or not darker toned, a cooler toned black. So that I can do kind of a nighttime color palette on these guys to represent their stealth. Okay. I could have potentially based them with black, so I did this white primer. I could have done a black primer. Maybe it's a weakness of mine or a failing, but when they're primed black, I have a difficult time seeing their details. And so I'm going to continue priming in white, and then sketching with the black, and then going darker from the white color. Okay. Now, just like I did with the sketching on my other models, I'm just taking a really loose or wet mix so that it finds all the dark recesses. And actually, this black is giving me quite good coverage. Even better than that brown did. What I mean by that is that the upraised surfaces seem to be taking the color better, and maybe it's a difference in the consistency of the paint. Maybe I'm using, no, see, that's really thin. That's running. So, and it appears like it's covering more. Now, up until this point, all of my sketching has been done in the burnt umber color. So it's possible that just my viewpoint is biased, and maybe it's the same coverage. Okay. Oh, look at that weird little dangly bit. Looks like I missed a piece of flashing from the modeling process, so I'll just take that off. And that's one thing with this sketching. It really brings out all the details, including the details of missed mold lines or flashing or whatever. Alright. There we go. Liberally spreading this stuff on. Now with these striders, I've got to do a whole unit of them here, so I'm going to kind of hurry through this a little bit so I can get them all done, hopefully in one video. Alright, pop the next one on my little pill bottle here. There we go. Just slather it on there like gravy on a dry piece of turkey or something. Most people don't like dry turkey, and I am one of them. If my turkey isn't moist, I must add gravy. Now if my gravy was black like this, if I had ink colored gravy, I probably would not use it so liberally. What would black gravy be made of? Is it like licorice? Licorice gravy. I wonder if that would be any good. That might even be something I would try. Growing up, I was always the kid who mixed all the soda flavors together at the fountain, including the diet ones. And I remember that the roller skating rink, they called that a suicide. And I'd say, "1 suicide, please." And they'd say, "Really?" And I'd say, "Yes." So, I might be up for a licorice gravy. I don't know. I think it would have to be some pretty awful turkey for me to resort to suicide gravy. But if it was good, it'd be a good marketing. Just call it suicide gravy. And make sure he's stuck there. Try to get all the little nooks and crannies. Get his thing done there. Yeah, now all that detail in his fingers. Now I might regret doing black on the fingers just because their skin tone I'm planning on doing the same. Kind of a brownish desert sand color lightened up to a bleached sandy color. So kind of whitish, kind of yellowish. Again, kind of matching the beasts. So even though I've reverse engineered the colors. So I decided I wanted beasts to be camouflaged with the desert, and so I decided that was the color palette I was going to use. I ended up bringing it back to the same skin color on my Nis. These elves are called Nis. Because ultimately my war beasts are generated from the blood of my warlocks. And if my beasts have a certain skin tone, it would make sense that that's because the creatures they were made from, the blood of the creatures, the DNA, they would have inherited that trait from somewhere. So even though my Nis skin color is that way because that's the palette I chose for my beasts, in the lore, my beasts are colored that way because of their controlling warlock. I haven't seen a picture of the dragon Everblight, so it's impossible for me to know what genetic traits he contributes. You know, other than like bone structure and muscle mass and, you know, all the bitey bits. Definitely get that from their blighted father. I'm kind of worried that my mixture's getting a little too thick there. So I'm actually gonna draw out some of this extra darkness. But then again, those are the armpits. There's not going to be a lot of light in there. So it might be alright to leave it dark. Okay, let's get some more water in my paint mix so that it's nice and thin. There we go. Coat my bow. I'm thinking of doing a different wood for my bow too. My bows. I'm thinking of maybe doing a white. Like an ivory type white wood. Partly just for a bit of contrast, and I think it would look cool. Alright, on to the next one. Make sure my mix is nice and thin. Pick up some of this matte medium and some more water. And some more water again. Okay. Here we go. Here's my commander, or the leader of the unit. Now I have decided to get the unit attachment, which is a commander guy and a musician, because of all the neat abilities they get. I haven't picked up the Strider Deathstalker solo yet. I've actually got one on order. Because like I said before, I picked these guys up on a trade. Traded away some models on a website. And got these guys. Now fortunately they weren't even assembled, so they must have been in some guy's garage. He never got around to putting them together. Wanted to offload them, decided he wasn't going to use them. I actually picked up these Striders and a unit of swordsmen. Actually, 12 models of swordsmen, so like the standard unit of swordsmen, including their officer, is 10. So an officer and 9 grunts, 9 dudes. But there's 2 extra normal dudes, normal grunts. And I'm trying to figure out why I've got these 2 extra guys. And I've thought of converting them into a solo that hasn't been released yet, the Warlord. Look at all that detail that gets pulled out there. Or converting them into the Swordsman unit attachment, which is called the Abbot and Champion, because I've decided that I really like the playstyle where you just charge in and kill things hard. Call that the Alpha Strike. Which, fortunately, this army supports very well. The Alpha Strike is almost key. I mean, it's almost the linchpin of most Everblight army lists. At least most of mine. Again, I have very limited experience. But it seems like if I can get a good Alpha Strike, if I can hit first and hit hard, that I will win. Now, because I'm not a very skilled player yet, not a very practiced player, I've had some difficulty getting the Alpha Strike. Get some more matte medium here with my water and my black. Make sure we're nice and thin. Because getting the Alpha Strike isn't easy. Because, fortunately, or unfortunately, your opponent knows that if you hit them first, it's going to hurt. So I've only gotten the Alpha Strike a couple times, but both those times it was grand and glorious. And I found that I even like just the attempt of getting an Alpha Strike. I like that bit of strategy. Like, get position, get position, get position, strike like a viper. Or like a dragon. Okay, and here is the musician. He's got this horn here. The little strap tying it to his wrist so that he can fire his bow when he needs to. Because fortunately with this unit, this support pieces, these support models, actually can both fight. In a lot of War Machine and Hordes units, you have your leader and grunts, and they can all fight, they all have weapons. And then in the unit attachment, you'll have one guy that's a better leader than the standard leader. He's got a commander, and he usually comes with a couple traits that he passes on to all of his unit. Give his unit more effectiveness, better abilities. And then the second model in the unit attachment, so the equivalent to my musician here, is typically a standard bearer, or a guy that holds a flag, or as I prefer to call them, a cheerleader. He just kind of stands there with his pom-poms. You know, his pom-poms are in the shape of a flag with a crest or something on it. But essentially just stands there, and He also provides some sort of benefit, usually a increased command range, or maybe an ability that protects his unit, but he doesn't have a weapon, typically. He usually provides whatever his support is, and that's it. He doesn't add another bow shot or another weapon strike. You know, all he has is his pom-poms in the form of a banner or a flag. But fortunately for these guys, the Strider, they're called Strider Scouts. These Strider Scouts, their unit attachment, their musician, their cheerleader, he's got a bow and he's got a sword, which I guess his sword isn't modeled on here. I don't know, but he does have a sword and a bow, just like all the other guys in the unit. He's no slouch. He just drops his horn and he's able to fight. Now here's my super champion, or my extra awesome leader guy, part of the unit attachment. Maybe I should look it up so that I don't sound like a total doofus. But anyway, here he is, running. See, he's got his sword and his bow. And we're going to cover him liberally. This nice thin black. I'll get into all the little corners. Bring out all that detail. So it's interesting on these Striders. They're very fast, by the way. They have a base speed of 7, which is ridiculously fast. It means that when they activate on their turn, their basic move speed, they can go 7 inches up the table, which is the fastest speed that I've seen. Like, and in my faction in Everblight, the Legion of Everblight, the only other things that go that fast are these flying beasts with the wings. They go fast. Everything else is speed 6 or slower. But now that I'm getting all the detail here, I guess I didn't look close enough on these guys. Well, they don't have normal feet. Like they've got their normal knee and then a second knee, or like a heel, like a cat's paw. And I guess that's probably why they have their name Striders. They stride quickly, long, loping, running gaits. Here we go. I'm not sure I like all of that darkness in his eyeballs. And there we have it. There we are. Okay. Well, thank you for watching this brief video. Ooh, I missed a spot. Make sure I get it all. Okay. Well, again, thank you for watching this video. It was short and hopefully sweet. And if you like this video, please like it. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.